Welcome back, everyone. I am Nessa.
And I'm T.
And together we are the Casual Fangirls. We are here to discuss today the finale of the latest MCU Disney Plus show to hit the multiverse, Miss Marvel. Let's jump back into talking about Kamala, her super interesting family history, and how she navigates the responsibility that comes with great superhero powers that she has now. Because, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Another tri state hero. Uh, but before we get into the spoiler warning and the spoilers and everything, we want to give you a spoiler free feel of how we are experiencing the series as a whole. So we're going to each give you guys 3 to 5 words about what we're thinking about this series. Okay, so this is going to be spoiler free. Check in with us if you find it interesting. Keep on watching, or go back and watch the series and then come back. So T, give us your words.
So I thought the last 3 episodes of Miss Marvel was a good time. It had issues, but I thought overall it was a good time. If nothing else, the show keeps its tone, I think, throughout, which I think is helpful for people who are looking for this type of show. Comedic, a little lighthearted, you're on the journey with the character, obviously. Like it definitely maintains that to the end of the show. Mm-hmm. That being said, I did think it was rushed. I think we've seen this in a lot of other Disney Plus shows, especially ones that are adhering to the 6-episode format, that episodes 4, 5, and 6, usually 5 and 6, are like, how are you going? You just gave us so much more information. How are we going to end this in a way that doesn't leave us with more questions about what happened than not? And we'll get into more of that when we talk. So I thought it was rushed. And then finally, I thought it was age appropriate, meaning that Miss Marvel specifically does feel like it's for a slightly younger audience, especially when you compare it to some of the other things that have been coming out, like Moon Knight, which is absolutely for the adults, and some of the other older Netflix shows that have now come on Disney Plus. Miss Marvel is for teenage, it's for everyone, but it's a really good show for any of the young people in your life. And I think that it was able to maintain that through the end of the show. So those were my 3 words. What about you, Nessa?
Nice. So my words were confusing because even though we get answers to a lot of things, there are a lot of other things that pop up where I'm like, wait, how does this make sense? How does this play into the previous MCU properties? All that kind of stuff. So it left me a little bit more confused than I wanted to be, honestly. Sticking with my word from last video, which is heartfelt, because there's still all the family goodness that's happening. And honestly, to me, the family dynamic part, the friendships and all that stuff, that's the best part of the show. That's where the show shines. And the superhero stuff is like, okay. But I love the family dynamics. I love the friendships that we see blossoming and all that good stuff. And like you, I felt like it was rushed. I felt like there's so much more that needed to be fleshed out. There's so many moments that needed to breathe. There's so many times that we just needed to hang around just a little bit longer. So I wish they had either done more episodes or just had paced it differently. All right.
Agree.
So those are our spoiler-free, words, feelings, thoughts, all the good stuff. So let's roll out the spoiler warning because we're about to get into the nitty-gritty of the show.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is your official spoiler warning. We will be talking about Miss Marvel television show series, and honestly, possibly pretty much anything related to the MCU. I don't know what we're going to say yet, but if I had to guess, we'll probably bring up she's been in so far, which are Captain Marvel at Endgame, maybe some what if talk. I don't know, feels like a good chance we'll reference something in there. And maybe some general Shang-Chi and XMen talk. Dun, dun, dun. Anyways, watch Miss Marvel, then come back and join us.
Yes, because if you didn't get that XMen reference, you want to see the show first. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
All right. So episode 4, entitled Seeing Red. Kamala and her mom travel to Karachi, Pakistan to see Kamala's grandma, Sana. Sana tells her that she needs to find the train from the vision, the same train that Sana saw, which prompted her to tell Kamala to come and visit. Kamala goes to the historical train station where Kareem, a member of the clandestine vigilante fighting group, the Red Daggers, realizes that she isn't a threat and takes her to their hideout. The Red Dagger leader, Waleed, confirms that the bracelet and Kamala's great grandmother, Aisha, are from another dimension that's connected to Earth by a veil. We learned that Kamran's mom, Najma, if she gets her hands on the Bengal and opens up that veil to the Noor dimension, that it will unleash the energy on Earth to destroy it. The clandestines break out of prison pretty easily, by the way. But Najma abandons Kamran for his betrayal. Kamala begins training with the Red Daggers to master her powers, but they are interrupted by the clandestines. A chase ensues, during which Waleed kills one of the clandestines before Najma kills him in turn. As Kamala and Kareem fend off the clandestines, Kareem kills one of them and Najma accidentally stabs the Bengal, which it looks like she was trying to stab Kamala in the face.
She definitely was.
Kid killer, but whatever. But she stabs the Bengal and it sends Kamala back in time to the moment from Sanaa's stories where she was separated from her father while boarding the train during the partition.
So now comes an episode I really enjoyed. Well, the first part of it, we'll talk about it more in detail later. Episode 5, Time and Again. So we open the 5th episode in 1942 India, where we see Kamala's great grandmother Aisha hiding out in a village where Hassan, an Indian independence activist, offers her food and shelter. They fall in love and have a child, Sana. 5 years later, Najma finds Aisha and orders her to retrieve the Bengal. Aisha leaves it with Sana and attempts to flee to the new nation of Pakistan with her family, but Najma finds and stabs her at the train station. Hassan and Sana are separated in the chaos. Kamala, who was transported to this exact time and place in the last episode, is able to interact with Aisha, who asks her to guide Sana before dying. Kamala's energy discs break as she tries to guide Sana back to Hassan, and we see the stars from Sana's memory. Kamala realizes she was essential to them being reunited. Returning to the present, she finds that the veil of Noor is open, but vaporizes anyone who interacts with it. Najma transfers her power to Komron before sacrificing herself to close the veil. Sana and Muniba find Kamala, and the latter accepts her daughter's powers. Meanwhile, Kamran seeks refuge with Bruno as he's trying to recover from having new powers. After being attacked by the DODC drone, Kamran destroys it, but the ensuing explosion obliterates the store below them. So are they alive? We don't know.
Casual damage. All right, episode 6, No Normal. They are alive. So while Bruno and Kamran are on the run, Agent Deaver orders a citywide lockdown to find the latter. Kamala's mom gives her a new suit and she rushes to find the guys. With help from Nakia, her brother Amir, and TikToker Zoe, the group stall the DODC agents. Cleary orders a retreat, but Deaver ignores him. Leads a detachment of agents to storm the school where Kamala and her friends are hiding and arrest everyone except for Kamala and Kamran, who confront Deaver. She attacks him, but Kamala fights off the agents, allowing all her friends to escape. Deaver flees and is later relieved of her duty by Cleary. Kamala becomes a beloved figure in her community and takes the superhero name Miss Marvel from her father, while Kamran flees to Pakistan and meets Kareem, as arranged by Kamala. Bruno later tells Kamala that she possesses mutated genes, which the rest of her family lacks. In the mid-credit scene, the Bengal emits a glow that teleports Kamala out of her bedroom. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel herself, suddenly appears in her place. And that's where we leave the series off. So, T, did you like the show?
I think overall I did like the show. I think that, as I said at the top with the spoiler-free words to describe that, it's a good time. The tone is great. The conversations are fantastic. It's just my main issue is with the rules of the world. And this show does not clearly does not make it clear what the rules of the world are in many different aspects. And we'll talk about some of those in a minute. But overall, yeah, I like it. Like it a lot. What about you?
I like the first half of the season way better than the second half of the season. But I felt like the development of the characters for the most part were pretty good. Like we mentioned before, it felt rushed, so I wish they would have paced it differently. Um, but did they stick the landing? I mean, it was wobbly, but we got where we needed to be, is how I would describe it. Like it wasn't tens across the board. I'll put it that way.
No, it
but
wasn't.
it made it to where it needed to go. The plane landed. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, it skidded a little bit, but it landed. I will say that maybe the show's strength is the character development outside of Kamran and his mom, Najma.
No, I didn't mind Kamra's arc either. Again, if they had paced it differently and they had more time, I think we could have developed Kamran a little bit better. But I liked where his character was going.
Well, no, I like where everyone ended up. I don't think they fleshed out exactly as you said. I don't think they fleshed out Kamran and Najma's characters like they did all the rest of the characters in the show.
They didn't do it justice.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. So I mean, overall, it was an enjoyable show, especially if we're thinking about the Disney Plus shows that did come out. It was enjoyable to watch, but it had its stumbling moments. I'll say it that way. So I mean, we are talking about character development and stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, why not? Let's start with Kamala.
Okay.
And her arc. And the main thing that we do get is like the whole show, she's trying to figure out who she is, right? Trying to find her sense of identity. And who can't relate to that? Whether you're a teenager or a grown-ass adult, like you are always in search of like who you are, what is your purpose, and all that stuff. And I love that we start off in a place where Kamala is pretending to be this idol, this superhero, but you can tell that she clearly feels uncomfortable in the cosplay costume that she does make, and she's always like dreaming and pretending and doing all these things. And then when we end the series, she's finally got her own costume, is more sure of who she is, and like when she's standing in the mirror, she's confident,
she's in
posing, it, she's hitting it, getting them Tyra Banks poses on. And so I think that's a beautiful arc to see. How about you? What were your thoughts of her? Because I know character development is your thing. So
character development overall, but really plot points is my thing. And we're gonna get to parts of this show where I was just like, no. Everything you said, I would just affirm. I don't want to like repeat everything you said, but I think especially, you know, like this is represented with the costume itself, right? Like what she has on. How it goes from exactly as you said, going from her trying to emulate what Captain Marvel looks like to her actually having a costume that are pieces of her community intertwined into one. She didn't put it together, her mom did, but her mom did a great job of interconnecting, you know, the scarf from the Red Dagger group that Kareem gave her, the vest that was given to her from Waleed, the lightning bolt-esque symbol. I don't even know if it's a lightning bolt. I think so, as I was looking at it, I was like, this could be just an Arabic character.
Yeah. So
I meant to look it up and forgot, honestly.
So in the comics, dumb, but it is what it is. Miss Marvel has that same symbol, but it's supposed to be an S for like Miss Marvel. I don't know. Don't ask me why they did it that way, but that's what it's supposed to be. But for Kamala, what it is like when the necklace broke, it's actually the symbol for K in Arabic.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, so that's why it
I like it.
Working. Yeah, so they switched that up because before it was just her taking, in the comics, it's just her basically taking Miss Marvel's suit, but
right. Yeah, it didn't look like a lightning bolt, and you know we know about lightning bolts, right? So that's why when I saw it, when she held it up, and then I saw the actual character on the outfit, I was like, no, that looks like an Arabic symbol or letter of some sort, and I just forgot to thank you for that clarity. So yeah, that's my point, that like now she has an outfit that's like all these different pieces of her ancestry, and more importantly, the sources of her strength are all kind of intertwined into her new getup. And then of course we learn on top of that, and we'll talk about like where her name comes from and like all that other stuff. So I was very pleased overall with Kamala's character development. I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah, I thought it was good. She's fun to watch. She's so adorable. She's so cute.
Yeah.
And she makes you want to root for her. Like, and
Yeah.
I think that's important to having a superhero, right? You want somebody that you can root for. So,
Right.
I think they did a great job of like introducing her into the MCU and building her up as this like lovable, fun character that we get to see.
Yeah.
Next up, her family, because you gotta love
Listen,
the family,
her
man.
family is so funny to me. Like it's
Talk about it.
so first of all, and I don't think we have this anywhere else, but like we actually get to see them go to Karachi, Pakistan, and see her interact with individuals who grew up and were raised in her native country. We get to see her cousins, we get to see her grandmother, we get to see like other people her age just hanging out, eating out of like plastic bags and like stuff like that, which is great. Family, like when they learn who she is, I thought everyone's reaction was so on point. The fact that they already knew because her parents can't keep a secret.
Right.
The fact that her brother was just like teasing her about almost dropping that kid the first time like she tried to make a rescue. And the fact that Taisha was just like, do you need to recharge? Like, what are the physics behind all of this? Like, I thought all of it was so on point, and it really made me smile.
It was
Just to see those dynamics. And then on top of that, in the big scene at the end where they're trying to save Komron from being arrested, and they're trying to come up with a plan of how to get out to school. Her brother shows up. And it's just like, well, our parents told me to come look after you. And they're like, how did you get into the school? He's like, I went to the school. Stop being stupid. Like, I know how to get into the school.
The superheroes don't need chaperones.
Yeah.
It cracked me up when Amira was like, oh no, what? You're a superhero? She's like, you told them already? Like, that is always on speakerphone, so we overheard.
Like, if that's not somebody's immigrant parent, like I was like, yep, always on speakerphone. Everyone needs to hear the entire conversation. I could just imagine Muniba calling her husband and like saying it, and like Amir and Taisha in the background, like just like listening in but like reacting in real time.
I just love how everybody's on board. But even that scene too was another scene that I felt like I wish we could have spent more time in, because realizing that your 16, 17-year-old daughter has superpowers and wants to run around saving the world, it's like, wait a minute, we seen Black Widow, right? Like, we know about Tony. Like, people die. Like, I want you to understand, like, this is dangerous. This is not child's play. Like the Incredibles said, like in the Incredibles movie, they kill kids. Like, this is not like the cartoons. They kill kids.
They will kill you. Yes,
they will kill you. And I kind of wish, although I love the support and everything like that, I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of the worry and the concern as well. I wish we kind of saw that.
That did feel a little abrupt. That like, especially her mother's arc with how she deals with Kamala's rebelliousness, right? That arc didn't feel like it was a perfect arc in that sense. It almost feels like, because they were on the plane and she's like, you're still grounded. Like, don't get it twisted. We are just calling a truce while we're here. Yeah. And then I can't tell when the switch happened. They gave us pieces, right? A lot of Muniba Sana, like just trying to get on the same plane. She obviously has troubles communicating and feeling accepted by her own mom, or in those ways. There are plenty of pieces to it, but I almost would have wished that we would have seen Muniba just say something like, I've always been really protective of you. I have to let you learn how to fly so that I can just be here to support you through that journey. Just having her say something like that out loud, I felt like would have tied it all back together.
Yeah, it was a lot of subtext. In terms of that. And I think it's like Muniba needed to be like, she needed to face her own mother to kind of realize like how she's been mothering and how that's
Mm-hmm.
been affecting her and everything. And then honestly, kind of like a lot of parents, it's like seeing is believing. It's like, oh snap, this is real. I forgive you, mom. My bad. Like you weren't
Right.
crazy woman screaming up and down the streets about, magical abilities and stuff like that. And I should have
Mm-hmm.
been better. So I think being faced with the realities of everything, that's when it's like, oh, okay, my bad. I guess I was the one who was wrong. But also even Sanaa being able to be like, I should have been better for you, I
Mm-hmm.
think was also like a healing moment in their relationship too.
Agree. And I just want to call out that on many of the stories we've talked about with like these interested family dynamics, like non-American family dynamics, the idea of a parent just flat out apologizing to your face, it's like super hard for them to write in. And I'm frustrated, but also kind of amused that they're getting that right.
Yeah.
That like because when we talked about Encanto, the fact that no one flat out apologized to
Yeah.
Bruno is still a problem for me.
Always. Oh,
Right?
Bruno deserves his apology. Hashtag justice for Bruno, always and forever.
Justice for Bruno. Like even Shang-Chi's dad never officially like, I mean, he realized it when a dragon was like had him by the neck or whatever, right? And like gave him the rings.
The
But
ring.
in essence, like there was no apology there either, no like verbal apology. And now we're seeing it again from Sanat and Maniba, not just being like, I was wrong. I'm going to take this as a lesson and we're going to work on our relationship together. The actions all say that. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear a parent, I want to hear a non-American parent apologize to their
You
kid.
need that. It's not gonna happen. Not in a
No.
realistic show, not in a realistic portrayal. It's not gonna happen. But it was awesome to be on that journey with Sanaa and Maniba and to see them find that healing. And like just having these three generations of women, right? Figuring out what's going on together and then working together was cool. And I actually appreciated it. And I like that they left Yusuf out of that. I like that they left Amir out of that as well. And they just let the ladies kind of do their thing. Also, them cousins is trash. Because if I went to
What?
Haiti and I was walking around with my cousins and they was like, okay, au revoir, like you have a good time, find your way to a train station. I'd be like, hold up. Y'all just y'all gonna leave me in the middle of the market? Like
Listen, I'd be like, excuse me, everybody can look at me and tell I'm not from here. I can speak the language. Like if I got dropped off with my cousins in Jamaica, I know how to understand patois, but as soon as I open my mouth, they're gonna know that I'm not from here and I'm gonna be taken advantage of. Why would you
bruh,
leave me?
they could smell it on you.
You can smell it. They can.
Smell your foreign. They know it.
They do. They do.
They know it. You don't gotta open your mouth. I don't know what. Maybe our pheromones are different, but they just right away they know it. So the fact that they left her in the middle of a Pakistani market, I was just like,
Gave me so much anxiety. I was like, no,
oh
don't leave
my.
her.
And then when they leave her, she gets attacked by a red dagger. Like I was just like, bro,
Yeah.
what?
Also, we didn't see them get in trouble for it. Like when they were looking for her, and then her cousin was just like, just track her phone. Like I feel like Muniba should have been going off on them. I
Yeah,
told you to look after her. Like what
yeah.
like that I feel
Why
like
is
in
she?
one of our families, somebody would have got yelled at.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%. Oh my god. Okay, and then
Oh, the one thing we forgot to mention is like Kamala's superhero name and how the show explains how she comes up with Miss Marvel. And apparently, I think it's obvious that some people think that it was just like a derivative of Captain Marvel, but the way the show decides to explain it is that Kamala, her name actually means it comes from the name Kamal, which in Arabic means perfection, or in Urdu means marvel. And her father gave a beautiful backstory about how they were praying for another child and they didn't think it was going to happen. And Kamala came along and she was perfect and all that stuff. And so he was like, she was their little Miss Marvel. And so that's where the name came from. And I thought it was so cute. It was like the cutest thing.
they said the name of the show in the show. What do I love more? But yeah, so it was a beautiful moment and it was a beautiful story. And uh I like that they went along with that because in the comics it really just is her inheriting the mantle Miss Marvel. So making it more like family based, lineage based, or like just it's more heartfelt, and it's more personal than just, oh, there was a Miss Marvel before me and I'm the new Miss Marvel now. So
and it's more affirmation for Kamala that like she was born to do this. Like
yes,
everything is kind of, it's like everything is coalescing from all sides. Like she was super attached to Captain Marvel. She has the, spoiler, we're going to talk about this, the gene that allows her to manipulate these energies. You know, the Bengal like came from Pakistan, her dad, and the language, and like all of it coming together is like, no, you deserve to be called this.
right,
all things considered.
right, exactly. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, love that. And then let's get to the friends.
Let's get to our friends.
Yes, Bruno, Caltech. My boy said, I'm out of here. Pack it up.
He said 43 hours. Let's go.
but also like he plays a big role in helping Komron escape from the DODC. Although heading to the mosque as your first place to go, kind of get it, but also not the greatest plan. Why would you go there? You know they're under surveillance already. But
you know, when you're in the moment, you just don't consider all those things probably. And also it's like, in my opinion, I would look for an adult as well. If I was that age,
fair.
I'd be like, what adult would offer me refuge without asking a whole lot of questions? And it's like, fair. Oh, I would go to the mosque too. That, and show's got to show. You're not going to introduce a new scene, a new environment when you already have the sets built for the mosque and the school. So
true. Very true, very true. So they get to the mosque, and then Nikhil's like, why are you here? She's like, go to the school because it's gonna be empty on a Saturday. So but it was interesting to watch them team up, and their interaction was so like awkward because Kamran's like, I thought your name was Brian this whole time. My bad. And it's like, did you really though? Like, you're not dumb. Did you really? So watching them team up and him trying to help. And then again, like him being the guy in the chair, right? The tech guy for Kamala, always supporting her, although having to watch her almost kiss Kamran in the school as they were trying to escape was tough.
I was just like, is that what you want to be doing right now?
It was a tough, but listen, if we're about to die, I guess. I guess. So, but I was just like, dang, man, you gotta go Caltech now. You gotta go do some. And
I don't know if anyone has been friend zoned harder in the MCU than Bruno.
I don't know about the MCU, but it's very Jorah Mormont.
It is very Jorah Mormont. It is very and Khaleesi. It is. And the MCU.
Friend zoning. It's not quite Black Widow and Banner because
no. Who knows how their relationship was supposed to end because they didn't finish it. So
they didn't. But they also both cared for each other. It was just this whole thing of like, we can't be together kind of thing. It's not that he didn't have affection for her or she have affection for him.
It was giving kind of like T'Challa and I forget her character's name. Lupita's character.
I know he's talking about, Lupita's character, but at least they were together at some point.
And
they were still like flirty. So
they were.
That was more of a broken heart thing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm really trying to, I'm gonna think about it some more, but it might be Bruno might be the one who's like friend zone the hardest.
And I remember we were talking in the previous video, we were talking about like how smart is Bruno. In terms of being the guy in the chair, and people have described that he's supposed to be of like Tony Stark intellect, like he's supposed to be on that level. So I mean
if in the comics he gets invited to go study in Wakanda, I feel like that is like,
and I feel like that can still happen. Maybe his postgraduate studies, maybe he'll do a semester abroad. I would love
semester abroad is definitely happening.
To see semester abroad.
And so he's not off the college yet. He's just doing a summer internship. They're only 16. They're juniors, I think, or something like that. So if we get another season of Miss Marvel, he'll be back definitely before they go off to college. But did you catch this? Is Nakia going to Caltech too?
I didn't catch that. Is she?
Okay. There was a line, I only watched it once for the viewers at home. There was a line that just got me confused about, someone said like 2 going to Caltech, and I didn't know if it was like Bruno and somebody else going to Caltech, or if they were commenting on Nakia and Kamala coming to visit in Caltech. It was through the commotion of them getting in the car and stealing keys and all that stuff. So I didn't catch it. So
unless she's driving him there.
There's no way she's driving him there.
But yeah, but I don't think she's going to Caltech. I don't think that's the.
Also, what do they plan on doing with the car? Like, someone has to make payments and like keep up the registration and stuff, and both Komron and Najma are gone. So they're gonna drive this car around for a month or a month or 2 before it gets repoed. I don't understand.
I guess. TV show's got a TV show. But I mean, I guess why not use it till it get repoed, right?
I guess.
I'd be like, my friend let me drive his car, and he didn't make the payments. Damn, take it. I mean, what are they? I don't know if they can actually do anything to you, but I guess, because I mean, he's in Karachi now. All right, so hopefully we will get to see Bruno again. I would love to see, I love how they keep adding nerds into the MCU, so I would like to see what potential role he could play, especially if we're getting things like Armor Wars and Secret Wars and all the wars, and we're going to space. And I feel like Kamala's gonna need that person that has her back to help guide her through all the changes that are going to be coming her way. So hopefully we see him again.
I agree, and I just thought about a team up I didn't know I needed. I need Kamala and Peter to team up and do like a little tri-state, like across the river thing, and I need Ned and Bruno to be like in the room together.
I feel like it could happen. I feel like it's definitely a possibility, and I wouldn't be mad at that either. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Yeah. So Nakia,
who was always about her business.
Always, and I love it about her.
She's always about her business. She took a while to come around. She felt betrayed that her friend didn't tell her about her superpowers. And then surprisingly, TikToker Zoe or Zimmer, I forget her name,
Zoe,
was the one that was just like, well, I didn't tell. Yeah, I knew who she was, but like, why would I rush? Like, it's up to her to decide who she wants to tell. And the fact that came from her and Nakia had to be taught that, I thought was like an interesting spin to it.
Yeah, I didn't. It's nice that they became friends themselves or whatever by the end of the episode and stuff. Zoe coming out of nowhere was wild to me. I was just like,
they needed an extra person, an extra body.
I guess. But did they really? I don't think so.
I mean, they brought in Amir. Zoe and Amir were just there to just flesh out and just give them more bodies.
Amir didn't make sense though. Like, whose immigrant mama wouldn't send their brother to go check it out?
Right. And to me, Zoe filming at the school because it has the best lighting makes sense to me too.
I could have done without her, but I guess. Yeah. I think it's also they wanted to redeem her for like inadvertently giving her away and stuff. So, but it just, I don't know. I didn't like it, but I guess. And then Nakia, I wish they gave her a little bit more towards the end, which is why I'm saying like I like the first half of the season better than the second half, because she was out here running for the board of the mosque and doing all these things. And then I feel like the second half of the season, she didn't really have much to do except help with the hijinks that happened in the school. But I wish they had given her a little bit more than what we actually did end up seeing.
Agree. And who was that dude that was claiming to be her boyfriend?
I don't know.
I felt so out of left field.
Oh, is it the guy who came to the party with them? When they went to the party and Kamran first jumps into the pool. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, mashallah. And then he asked Bruno, what does that mean? Is it that guy?
It probably, because they're gonna keep reusing people. I totally forgot about that scene though.
Yeah, I did too till just now, honestly. Honestly, because I was thinking that to myself too as I was watching it. I was like, who
Who
is
is
this
this?
dude? Like, they wouldn't just throw a random body to have a line. So I was confused about who it actually was, but I think it was him. Okay, let's talk about the power set.
Let's just do it and get it over with.
Because guys, bear with us. This is gonna take some time because we gotta get into
The rules of the world
yes, yes.
is really what the next 3 points all like sum up to be about.
Because as we stated before in the previous video, right? She has this cosmic energy type power that is supposed to be channeled by the Bengal, but we figure out that it's coming from her, but it's supposed to be channeled through the Bengal. What exactly are the powers? We don't know. Let's leave it ambiguous so that the creators can make it whatever they want to make it in the moment, right? Basically. But we do see her powers evolve in this show as she like embiggens herself, and she like kind of does this kind of stretchy thing and makes herself bigger, which is a callback to the comics where she actually does have more of like Reed Richards kind of powers where she can stretch herself, but she also does have powers where she can change her appearance.
Which makes her like somebody else in the
Mystique.
Fantastic Four. Oh, Mystique, yeah. Oh,
okay. Yeah, so think Mystique, think Reed Richards. That's her power set in the comics. They wanted to make it different, I think, because it's not going to look good on film.
That and why confuse it with when we know that X-Men and Fantastic Four are coming?
Right, that too. So you wanted to talk about a little bit more about the Bengals.
And so
yeah.
Yes. So the whole like the Bengals origin, right?
Yeah.
I think matters as a discussion point because it frames how we conceptualize what her power set actually is. And so there's been a lot of chatter and there's even been some like Easter eggs, like the different pieces around the series as a whole to at least get us all on the same page. Like at some point, the Bengal was probably in the hands of the Kree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they created it. I'm not saying it's like theirs originally, but we saw when Aisha took it off of a blue man, the blue people we know in the MCU are all Kree. There is some speculation that even the 10 rings might have like passed through the Kree's hand at some point in time. And then in that same scene where we see Aisha get the bangle, we see like the 10 rings insignia. So like there's some connection there. So just in general, like, so that's one part of it. So then the question is like, is the bangle, here's my question. If the bangle has been sought after by all these different people to do different things, potentially, like, I don't know, maybe the Kree wanted to open up Nord too. I don't know what they wanted. Really, the question is, what is the bangle's purpose?
Yes.
Because just because the bangle allows Kamala to focus her powers, it's not suggesting that it's actually giving her powers, one, and two, if it's not giving her powers, why does it exist and why is it able to allow her to focus it? It has this magic at some point.
Yeah.
So what is all that behind it? And so, yeah, I think you did a little bit of research about like, specifically, there might be like mega bands from the comics, which were created by the Kree based on quantum bands created by like an ancient being. And there's like super powerful, but like, we just don't understand exactly, what the bangle does. And this is important though, because it's like, what can we attribute to the bangle versus what can we attribute to Miss Marvel herself?
Yeah. So
that's the point.
Right. So a lot of people are theorizing that the bangles are based on the negabands from the comics. And even in the comics, there are multiple pairs of negabands. So it's not just like these two, there's multiple pairs of them. And basically they give you a bunch of different powers, but there's also the ability to go into the negative zone, which is important. I'm going to kind of mix this with the stinger that we get. Okay. So calling back to the stinger, what's her name? Kamala disappears into her closet and out comes Carol Danvers, right? So in the comics, the negabands allow you to go to the negative space, which is like almost like this prison kind of void space or whatever. And so in the comics, when the original Captain Marvel was given them, he was transported to the negative zone. But when another comic book character, Rick Jones, puts on another pair of Negabands, he switches places with Captain Marvel. So that could be an explanation of what happened. So maybe Captain Marvel found the other Bengal, touched it, something happened, they ended up switching places. Now we got to go save Kamala, who knows, whatever, right? So, but again, the powers are kind of ambiguous, where the quantum bands were created by Eon, right? The ancient being Eon. So again, think eternity, think infinity, think all those figures from the comics, which is another way that we're getting more cosmic, getting even bigger. And Eon's statue was also in that place where they did go find infinity, and we saw all the statues. Eon was one of the statues.
Eternity, but
yeah, when we go to find eternity, Eon was one of the statues in the room.
Nice.
Among with others. So that could, so what I'm thinking, basically, I say all that to say, what I'm thinking is I think they're going to combine the nega bands and the quantum bands, and that's what these bands are going to be. But like you said, what is the purpose of them? Because at the end, we find out that they've confirmed that she is the first known MCU mutant that we're being introduced to. So she well, they confirmed it. It's confirmed.
They confirmed that I feel like we've seen one already, but yeah.
It hasn't been confirmed.
Chavez has to be a mutant though, doesn't she? America Chavez.
We don't know that.
She has to be, because she's the only one with her power set in all of the multiverse.
We don't know that. But this is the first 616 confirmed.
Sure.
We don't know exactly, because who knows what they might do with her origin. They might be like she was born as somebody too.
I can't think of any other reason why America Chavez wouldn't be a mutant.
I'm not saying
anyways, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. I'm not saying she's not, but they never confirmed it in the way that it's being confirmed right now.
Right.
With Kamala. So but the question then becomes, like you were saying, is because when you have the X gene, right, it gets activated pretty much around puberty, and then you have these power sets with or without any types of artifacts. I know we're in the era of artifacts in the MCU, but with or without the artifacts, it should be happening. So what is the purpose of the Bengal? Will she still have the powers if she takes the Bengal off? Or does she need to have the Bengal to have the powers? Do they amplify her powers? What is going on? I don't know. Right.
Agreed. And I wish they would have explored that a little bit.
Yes, because, and this is what I mean by confusion, right? When I said my 3 words, because it's like you're introducing, because I'm not gonna lie, like the finale didn't really do it for me, but when that moment happened, I sat up and I was like, oh, and I got so excited when the theme song played, and then 10 minutes later I sat back and I was like, but wait, what does this mean? Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, it was an exciting moment, but then just led to more confusion, because I was like, what does this mean for her power at all? So we don't know.
We don't know.
We're still gonna learn.
We don't know. I have a theory that if she, I just, not like a super theory, I just think if she took the Bengal off, because this plays into Komron, right?
Okay.
Right? When we talk about power sets, right? Komron, it's obvious that the powers that he got, that Najma transferred to him, that we didn't even know Najma had. So let's just start there. We didn't know Najma had those powers because they don't be using powers. They just be fighting, kicking people's ass like humans, right?
Right.
And it also doesn't make sense, because when Kamala was busting their ass using her powers, she had that in her and she could have used it also. Why not use it if she was ready to kill a kid by the end of it? Anyways, Kamran has powers that look very similar to Kamala's. Kamran does not have, to our knowledge, any sort of artifact that's helping him channel it, which is probably why it's shooting and it's like really sporadic and very rigid and rugged and just not controlled. So are we to think that if Kamala didn't have the Bengal, her powers would look like that? 1. 2, is Kamran a mutant? now? And if so, did his mother transferring the, I don't think so, because his mother transferred power. Is Komron a mutant?
Right.
If not, how is he able to have the same power set as Kamala?
Yeah.
And how is he able to use it when she needs the Bengal, but she's the actual mutant? So it's, as you
A lot
said,
going
this
on.
episode, there's a lot going on, but as you said, this episode, and just to be frank, just because a final episode leaves you with more questions doesn't make the episode bad, in my opinion. It's like, where are the questions directed? Are they directed forward or backward? So in my opinion, if a finale ends and you're like, oh, what does this mean for the future? What does this mean for other properties? That's good. It like keeps the conversation going. But if the finale happens and all of your questions are questioning things you've already seen in the episode, that's a problem.
Right. I agree. And I think the way they're going to explain Kamran is that almost like, so spoilers for Thor, Love and Thunder. Almost like how Thor whispers to Mjolnir about his love for Jane, and then it becomes like it protects her and stuff. I think it's almost kind of like that. So when Najma's like Kamran, as she's like dying in the veil, I almost feel like she sent some of the veil energy power to him, and that's what gave him powers. I can't imagine how else they would explain it, because like you said, then why weren't all the clandestines glowing and throwing out these energy crystal cosmic stuff, whatever, the whole time? Or
even Aisha, when she glowed, when she was like dying, couldn't sum up enough energy or magic to get Hassan and Sanaa together again. Like Kamala had to do it. So it's like, even if she wasn't dying, would she have even had that ability is the question.
Right, exactly. So it's a confusing way to leave things. It's very murky, very messy, and I hope at some point they really clarify it and they clear it up, because what are we supposed to think? How are we supposed to? You want people to be excited that she is this mutant. And honestly, I think it was a poor choice and a poor moment to try to introduce the X-Men in. Because if we're surrounding this show around the Bengal and what the Bengal does for her, it feels useless to all of a sudden be like, oh, but she's an X-Men.
I mean, they put that at the end because they wanted the response that they got out of you, right? But I just don't think that they really understood how the audience was going to instantly try to connect that back to Kamran as well. That's the issue. You introduced a character having very almost the same powers 20 minutes or 30 minutes before, okay, the episode before, fine, before you tell us that one of those characters is a mutant and that's why they can do that. And so it's like, it's just confusing.
Okay, so this just crossed my mind and made me less mad about the Kamran thing, right? Because the way Carol Danvers gets her powers is that she's exposed to the Space Stone. So that's how she gets her cosmic powers. But then also Monica Rambeau, she walks through the field that's what's her name puts up, and so she gets cosmic power. So
that actually makes me feel better. Thank you for pointing that out. That actually
it literally came to me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad about Kamran getting his powers from the veil, but it still does not settle the whole thing with Kamala.
It doesn't, and it doesn't. And I think hopefully in the Marvels, we'll get some distinction into how all of these 4 character powers are different.
Yeah. So we'll see. But like we said, Najma does sacrifice herself in order to somehow transfer these powers to Kamran. And you wanted to ask.
I wanted to know if her sacrifice was good and was a good intent or bad intent. And here's the reason why I have that question.
Please explain.
Najma came around instantly. Like, she has been after this Bengal for decades, so long. And it took Kamala being like, what about Komron? For her to be like, you're right. When she just left this dude for bait. And I'm just like, I didn't believe that she made the switch from like, you know, being on the bad side to being on the good side that instantly. I mean, the evidence that it was a good intended action was that she closed the veil, right? Like if it was bad intention, she wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the fact that she switched so quickly and then transferred, the question is, did we know that her intent was to transfer the power to Komron? Because like you said, her whispering Komron didn't have to be her actually intending for Kamran to get powers at that moment in time. So that could have been a fluke. But if it was intentional, and if it was intentional, I feel like there's a story here where she was hoping Kamran would avenge her.
Ooh.
Which is why when they were building up, don't tell Kamran that his mother died yet. Like I thought they were like slowly building up Kamran being super angry and blaming Kamala for his mother's death. I legit thought they were setting that up while I was watching it.
I could see that. I think they want us to believe that Najma died with pure intentions. I think they want us to believe that.
I'm okay with that. I'm just saying it wasn't set up as clear cut as that.
Yeah, it was again rushed. Right, because like you said, being like, think about your son. Oh, on the good side. It was a little rushed to have that.
It's the same thing, spoiler, that freaking Thor and Jane did with the God Butcher. Think about your daughter. Okay,
right. I'm gonna abandon my whole mission that I've had for these.
It's like, and then if you think about it, like the whole like think about your kids, and think of Wanda in Doctor Strange, when America was just like, do you want your kids to see their mom like this? It's like, you're right, I'm gonna kill myself. Dumb. Okay.
It's the MCU checklist.
Now that I'm piecing this together, it's really starting to annoy me. It feels like the opposite of like, and you know, your traditional Disney classics like Lion King and all that stuff. The main character always only has one parent or no parents.
Yeah.
Right. It feels like a formulaic, like, how do we get this evil person to turn around? Tell them to think about their kids. Like that's exactly
basically that's what they're doing.
And it just doesn't feel, it makes them feel like a cheaper villain if they're supposed to be a villain when you do that.
Yeah, it does.
Because Thanos kicked his freaking kid off the fucking ledge.
He said, like, I love you, but whoop, and tossed her off.
Exactly.
So that was like, wild. Yeah. So you know what? Yeah, it does lessen the impact of her like villainy, I guess. That is true. And then it becomes the question too of like, is Kamran about to use his powers for good or bad, right? Because he's been running with the clandestines for his whole life. And now all of a sudden, you know, needed rescuing and Kamala helped. Yeah. He's with the Red Daggers. How much are the Red Daggers going to tell him? How much are they going to let him in to their society and all that stuff? That should be interesting to watch.
Where's Kamran's dad? And also like what I just want more background on like Najma and like how she lived her life. Like what made you wait this long to have a kid? And who's his daddy?
I'm going to guess she waited this long to have a kid because she was trying to go home. She was trying to go home. And then after a while, she was like, damn, I guess we're not going nowhere. So, you know, but that is a good question. Who is his daddy? Maybe that'll be a reveal in the future. Who knows?
Probably, hopefully.
But I think he's going to end up being somewhat of an anti-hero, if anything. I think he's going to do some questionable things, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, he's going to be on the side of justice.
Especially as he's finding himself.
Yeah. It's not going to be Killmonger status, but it's going to be some steps below that, I feel like, where I feel like there's going to be times where it's like, oh, you're harassing these brown people. Here's what I'm going to do. Y'all might not like my methods, but guess what? I got the job done, kind of thing. I feel like he might have he might make questionable choices, but I think at the end of the day, it's gonna work.
I was trying to think if we've seen anybody else besides Killmonger do something similar. Zemo-esque. It's like Loki, but like a super like concentrate, like not to that level. But like you said, it's more so like, what I did what you asked me to do. You just didn't like the way I did it. I feel like there's another character we're missing somewhere. I'll think about it.
Possibly.
Who has a similar like approach to things. I mean, if I had to think of any character, it would be Logan, Wolverine. A strong anti-hero energy, like he's one of the quintessential anti-heroes, him and Deadpool, for a lot of this. And they're just like, do you want me to do it? Because I'm gonna do it my way.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see, because now Kamala got both her shorties up in the same spot, helping each other.
She got a whole lineup.
Lori
Everybody on the same team.
Lori Harvey, Team Kamala.
Everybody on the same team, just supporting their lady, as they should.
As they should. Everybody's
putting their differences behind them. Let's start over. I'm Komron. Like,
I love it.
Like, so you got her for this, I got her for that. You got her lunch, I got her dinner, and then we both will get the kids. All right, let's go do that. Like,
listen,
I need that type of energy.
Sometimes you need a team around you, is all I'm saying.
It takes a village. It takes a village.
It does. But I think we'll see them reunite in the future again at some point. They're gonna come together. Will Kamala like who he becomes? I don't know. But that remains to be seen.
I don't know. She sent both her men away. Well, she didn't send them. She sent one of them away, and the other one was leaving. So she has a summer where she's chilling with no beau. It's just her and Nakia running the streets in Kamron's car.
Yeah.
The streets of Jersey City, just out here living a fly girl.
Hot girl shit. For real. And I love it for her. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into a topic I absolutely hate. If y'all have tuned in before, y'all know I hate it, but we're going to get into it. Time travel.
Let's do it.
Time travel. In episodes 4 and 5, we go back in time to the moment where Sanaa gets lost from her father. And we find out that it is Kamala who ends up helping her and gets Sanaa back to her dad. And it basically is the time travel concept of like a causal loop kind of thing, right? This thing has always been happening and will always happen and continue to happen, which is very different from the time travel rules that we have been introduced to during Endgame, which is you can go back in time, but then you gotta go back and you gotta fix everything the way it was so that we don't get offshoots of different timelines. And then, of course, in Loki, we learn about the TVA and how they're clipping timelines. But allegedly, the Avengers were supposed to do what they were supposed to do. That's why we don't we don't care about their timeline. We let them do what they needed to do. So, what do you think this means in terms of the rules of time travel for the MCU? What implications do you think this has?
Okay, 2 things. One, I don't think that the two are contradictory.
Okay.
I think that Kamala going back and helping Sanaa find Hassan that loop is the same as the Avengers going back, stealing the stones, and then putting them back in place. Loki aside, the Loki offshoot thing aside, everything else about that feels the same. It's the Loki offshoot variant piece of it that they still haven't explained in full. But if we ignore that and we say that things that have happened have always happened, so as long as you don't deviate from what's already happened, you're fine, then the rules hold up, in my opinion. And it tells us that Steve Rogers, who went back and married Peggy, was always Peggy's husband.
Oh,
that's what that would imply.
That would be the explanation. So basically, Game is one big loop.
Right.
I never thought that way.
Right. Okay. Which is Endgame is one big loop, except Loki is the thing that really sets it off, because in our original loop, Loki goes back to Asgard, gets arrested, is locked up, then helps Thor escape with Jane, yada, 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 yada. So that piece of it means that Loki should have been clipped. If that Loki was clipped, then everything else, that Loki was either clipped or forced to go back where he was in time, then there would be no discussion. The time travel rules in this universe would make sense.
It could still work that way, because then if the TVA arrests Loki but still clips that timeline, because now when he goes to the TVA, he's outside of the timeline. So whatever he's doing there, he's outside of his timeline. So whatever he's doing there doesn't matter. So if they clipped it, it could have just kept going the way it was meant to go.
It can't, because how would that Loki in that timeline still get back to Asgard in order to be locked up? There's no Loki now because he left.
Okay, so I haven't watched Loki in a minute, but I feel like they've never truly explained when they clip. So if they could go back even seconds before he picks up the briefcase, and escapes, and they clip it before then maybe the timeline could have still kept going the way it should have.
Actually, but the other piece of that scene in Endgame, and now we're getting deeper into the time travel, guys, that doesn't make sense to me is the question is, did Tony having a heart attack always happen? That's the question. Because Tony having a heart attack was caused by their plan, Ant-Man going in, doing the thing. If that always happened and Tony just didn't know it was Ant-Man from the future coming back and doing it, if that always happened, we're Gucci in my opinion, which means that Loki always stole the Tesseract, but somehow he always made his way back in order to be arrested, to be taken to Asgard. We just didn't see it. It happened off screen. So that's the question that I have about that particular scene. When it comes to Kamala and the timeline, if you keep the Loki scene out of it, it works, in my opinion. It works for the Endgame, time heist, and everything going back. It would also affirm that Steve Rogers was always Peggy's husband. He just stayed out of sight, out of mind, because he knew he had to hide out to not confuse everyone. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other instance of time travel we've seen so far. I think those are the main ones.
Lord have mercy. I don't know. I think it's going to be a situation where it's just going to be like, y'all, don't think too hard about it. We're moving on.
For me, all they have to do in order to close this loop, no pun intended, is to show me when Loki gets put back into the timeline.
We need Loki season 2.
Or to confirm that Tony always had that heart attack at the end of the battle for New York.
I guess.
I just need one of those two things.
Either way, it introduces us to another ability of the Bengal right now, all of a sudden. But the question is that really the ability of the Bengal, or was it just more of somehow Aisha setting this whole thing up? I don't
say more.
So
actually, I was doing some Googling. When Kamala first walked up to Aisha, she thought she was Sanaa.
Yeah.
Just an older Sanaa, right?
Yeah.
But she didn't know it was someone come from the future coming back.
Right. Also, okay. So also when the Bengal and the dagger meet, it was the same dagger that Najma used to kill Aisha. There's that. Then there's also the whole...
It's probably a Nora artifact of some sort, probably.
Maybe. Also, there's the whole what you are seeking is seeking you thing.
Yeah.
Which, again, maybe could kind of have worked like a spell, which could have caused part of this whole thing to kind of take place. I think that's more of what I was leaning into, is like, I don't know if the Bengal on its own would have just take her back in time. I think it's all the events that happened around it and whatever magic that Aisha did kind of put into it or channel through it, whatever. I think that's what might have caused her to go back in time in the first place. But again, what does that say about the abilities of the Bengal? And then even in terms of the abilities of the Bengal, right, being able to switch with Carol, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think if I had to guess, because Aisha thought that Kamala was Sanaa at first, maybe Aisha thinks that the Bengal itself has time travel abilities, and it's not. What I was sitting here thinking about, like, what if it's Kamala, something about Kamala that allowed her to go back?
Maybe.
But maybe not. Maybe it's just the Bengal, and maybe the Bengal just goes back to points in time where it was already. I don't know, like that. I'm adding that rule because it makes sense because I need more rules around it.
Sure.
Uh, but
I'm telling you, they're gonna be like, we're in phase 5, guys. Why y'all still talking about it? Cause we need an answer. This is
they
why we
know
still
their
talking about
audience.
Steve Rogers.
Let me tell you. So if Steve Biden, who I call Steve Biden because he looks like Joe Biden when he's old, if that is the case, and he was always Peggy's husband, that still doesn't answer how the hell he got onto the Avengers compound unseen as 100-and-something-year-old man.
I guess he would still have the clearance. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I guess his clearance would still work. That's a good point.
I don't know.
I guess security's down too the day after Thanos blows everything up.
Can we be
Nobody saw that old man just creeping along. It's just really that piece of it. Like, no one saw him walking with like a big shield bag and everything. Whatever. Anyways.
I'm done with time travel. You got any last minute things you want to add in about time travel?
I was actually kind of excited, like I mentioned before, because this is concrete, like lending to Steve Rogers always being Peggy's husband, and it reaffirmed that like the rules that govern this is also the rules that should govern the time heist scene, and I think did, but I need one additional piece of information, which is when did Loki get placed back into the original timeline, and or did that whole scene always happen and we just never saw it off screen? And that piece of it especially just feels like the answer is no, because Tony should have expected it. So I don't know,
because he did do all the whole mathematics of how to go back. I don't know.
If he told Ant-Man to cause him a heart attack, he would have remembered that he actually had the heart attack already.
I guess it felt so much cleaner in Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't know why, but it did. But I don't want
to. Same thing. It's essentially the same thing.
It is. I don't want to think too deep about it because I don't want it to ruin how I feel about it.
No, it's essentially the same thing. Hermione always saw
it was always
herself.
happening.
Yeah. Harry was always the one who produced the super powerful Patronus charm. Like, yeah, it was always the way it was. So it's the same rules in that sense. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. All right. Now that we're out of those woods, let's head into our highlights and nitpicks. I'm gonna let you kick it off.
So obviously the biggest highlight of probably the season is hearing the XMen theme play. I'm gonna be honest, in order to post on social media last week, I did have to do like a little bit of Googling, and like it popped up. So that was spoiled for me a little bit before I saw the show. But I know for a fact, if I would have saw the show, I wouldn't have recognized the theme.
Really?
So I'm glad I was
not even from Multiverse of Madness. It played as Professor X rolled up.
I know everyone said it. It's not a tune that I have stored in my memory because I didn't watch the show like that growing up.
I also have to say it was even more exciting for me because before I watched the episode, I had actually started to go back to watch the old X-Men animated.
Oh, really?
So I wasn't even expecting it. So like I was watching it, and then all of a sudden I watched Miss Marvel, and I was like, oh! I think that's why I had a bigger reaction to it. It's because I was already primed for it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, but so if I didn't get that spoiled for me a little bit, I wouldn't have understood the weight of what was happening in that moment. I mean, I would have caught the mutation piece of it and probably would have pieced it together, but like hearing the music as like confirmation, that was a spoiler that worked in my favor. I loved watching the love story of Aisha and Hassan. I loved it. I loved every bit of it going back. It was so reminiscent of Abuela's story in Encanto.
Yeah.
The whole like Dos Agoritas song, which I think is beautiful. It makes me cry all the time. Any sort of portrait, like to see these like super traumatizing immigrant stories portrayed just does something to me. And I think we need to do way more of it. Like just so much more. Just give me more of this. Yes.
Because I had no idea what partition was until I saw this show. I had no idea.
I was familiar with the partition. Like I knew like the historical very quickly that like England was occupied in India, and at some point Pakistan broke off, and I knew that it was like religion based, but I didn't know any of the nuance. Like people wanted to stay, people wanted to go, like who was actually fueling all of the like religious stuff behind it, which this show did illuminate a lot more. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing way more research now into that era of history. And I just loved how frank they were, just like, yeah, the English did this. Yeah, like they did that. Colonialism, it sucks. The Marvel showed up in The Stinger, which my wonderful, beautiful colleague Nessa called on the last episode. You absolutely called that we were going to see Captain Marvel. Yeah.
And I felt nothing. But yeah, it happened.
You didn't say, I called it. I knew it.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, there she goes. But other than that, it meant emotionally, because I don't care for Captain Marvel. So, and then like just the way it happened, I was just like, what is this supposed to mean? Yeah. And then again, it was like, what are these bands?
Yeah. More questions than answers. I got a good giggle out of at the mosque when he put the hats on Bruno and Komron. Ooh, completely messed up his name. I was
so many K names.
I was like, Quran is the book. That's not his name. Halal meaning good or permissible in that culture, and haram means like the opposite, bad or impermissible. I thought that was hilarious.
And Bruno was wearing haram.
It was haram. Yeah. So funny. It was so funny. And then finally, one of my highlights was like the fact that Bruno was just like, yeah, I looked into your genes because your dad was wondering if he has superpowers too. I was like, that's so on brand.
That was yep. That works. It would, and like honestly, I would have been the same way too. Like if my daughter or if my sister or somebody or my brother or something like that had powers, I'd be like, so what about me? Can we unlock something? What if I put the on?
Right. I want, like, if I was Taisha, I'd be like, so my babies are gonna be superhuman. Like, can we talk? Do they need to recharge at night? Do I have to plug them in? Like, can you let me know?
Is that a possibility? Okay, so for my highlights, most of yours were mine, except for Captain Marvel. But mine were Get In Loser, We're Gonna Get Shawarma. That was great for me because it was a combo of Mean Girls, Get In Loser, We're Going Shopping, and Avengers, let's get some shawarma after the big battle of New York. So I absolutely loved when she did that. And the DODC tech. So for those who may have forgotten or need reminders like I did, remember that damage control was created by Tony Stark in order to clean up the mess that the Avengers were causing and all the other superheroes were causing, and to rebuild all the buildings, right? Especially after the Battle of New York. And basically they went from a cleanup crew to SHIELD Part 2, kind of, where now they are, I guess they're hunting down empowered people.
I think, aren't the Accords still in play?
They should be.
So I think they also play like a level of like Accords enforcers.
Possibly, right? Because like it's like an animagus, you need to be registered. Why y'all not registered? But I mean, the way they took in the clandestines, it was not looking friendly. It looked very hostile.
I mean, they fought them off, so there's that.
There's that too. But so now they've become this government agency, and you can see a lot of remnants of Stark tech. So even though Tony's gone, he's never really gone. He's still with us, right? So we have the drones that we saw Mysterio using in No Way Home.
Far From Home.
So many homes. Far From Home. We see technology that's reminiscent of the Incredible Hulk that Thunderbolt Ross uses to try and take down Hulk. And then the guns that they have also are very similar to they make the same sound as the repulsors that Tony's suit makes. But it also does remind me too of the guns that the Nazis were using
Oh, the
in
Hydra, that Hydra was
yeah
using based off of the
during the war.
Tesseract.
Right, exactly. That Red Skull was
Those
using, right?
those are the same sounds, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of callbacks to like all this Stark tech and everything that's going on. So it's I feel like and there's been a lot of speculation about this too, and I think that people are onto something that this is probably going to play into Armor Wars, which is going to be another Disney Plus TV show in which basically Rhodey is going to be, I don't know, like rounding up or protecting Stark Tech property or that kind of thing.
Just
So
dealing with the fallout, probably.
yeah, so I think all of that is going to come into play. So those are my major highlights. Nitpicks.
So when it comes to nitpicks, not understanding exactly how the veil opened and closed, it bothers me a little bit because it's like, can it be opened again? One, and two, is it even still a threat now that all of the clandestines are dead, right? That we've seen, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's still an open thing for me. It's like, are there still going to be people is that still a plot that can be taken up by someone else to try to open the veil,
right,
to bring Noor to Earth?
Mm-hmm.
I really wish they would have developed the red daggers more. I was expecting way more exposition from Waleed about the other dimension and just what life is like over there, and
stated what we knew.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes, we've had exposure from other dimensions through Shang-Chi. That's the only other time I remember someone saying it's a dimension and not a world or a realm or a universe or anything like that.
There was the dimension with Dormammu. Was it called a dimension?
It is a dimension. That's the dark dimension, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, like okay, that. Dimensions we've heard from Doctor Strange, but those are supposedly different than universes, which are also different than realms, because in Thor, the shadow realm was a realm and not like a planet. I mean, a planet maybe, but in a realm, I don't know. I need a dictionary, just like how we're describing these different environments. Yeah. But in any event, I wish we learned more about the Noor dimension. Mm-hmm. The love triangle, Kamala, Bruno, and Komron felt very open-ended, but also like teased in a way that feels just rude. Like, give me something about like where one of them is still.
I like it. Yeah. Leave it open-ended. I like it.
Fine. And then I have one more that I actually didn't write in the outline.
Okay.
So when we get to the scene, the like Home Alone-esque scene in the high school where they're like putting together all these booby traps and stuff like that, we get Kamala doing her like chalkboarding, and we hadn't seen it in episodes. I totally forgot that she did that, and it was kind of cute to see it, but also I was just like, I don't need this. Like, I don't be, and it's because I was frustrated that there's so many other things I would have rather talked about than to see her plan booby traps for people when they could just snuck them out the back. I don't understand any of that.
But they couldn't just sneak them out the back. They needed to create different diversions.
No, they didn't, because how did he wind up sneaking out to begin with at the end?
Because they were all like preoccupied with what was going on, and then Zoe had called everybody to the high school.
She blew a hole in the asphalt, and then they went through the hole. Excuse my language. Okay, she could have did that in the gymnasium floor, and she didn't. Is my point.
Okay. But TV show got a TV show.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have much preferred
something else.
Give me 20 minutes of exposition on the clandestines and all that other stuff before you give me that 20-minute Home Alone sequence.
Fair.
Those are my nitpicks.
To piggyback off of you, I'll start my nitpick from there. I didn't like the hijinks scenes at all. The whole entire time I was just like, this makes no sense. These agents have weapons and are supposed to be military top trained, and y'all gonna tell me a bunch of Home Alone tricks and teenager tricks done tripped y'all up that much? Y'all all need to be fired, because that was crazy. I was just like, Y'all throwing softballs? And that's supposed to
It's
stop them?
it's crazy, but low key realistic in my opinion, because we have cops, and I'm just gonna say it, who be afraid because people look a certain way that aren't even a freaking threat. So
There's that, yeah.
there's incompetency
But
across.
come on, that for me, there was too many agents in there for it to be
There
incompetent.
are a lot.
It was like 3 to 5. I would have been like, all right, I see how, like, 4 or 5 kids could trip them up or something like that or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It was a whole army coming through, a whole army, and y'all got rid of them with some foam and some softballs. Nah,
Foam, softballs, fire extinguishers,
I was not with it. I was not with. I didn't.
bikes, and red hoodies.
I could have done without it. But that's just me. But I get it. High school shows got a high school show. And then Zoe coming back. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but Zoe coming back out of nowhere, I could have done without. Fine without her. Um, in the finale, Bruno drops a letter into Kamala's locker and it never pays off. That kind of bothered me just slightly. I was just like, why even leave that scene in there? Y'all could have cut it out, but sure. Also, I'm curious to know what was in the letter. It's probably like "I love you," some shit like that.
I mean, yeah. So the question is, he dropped it off and then went outside to see her.
And then she never says anything a week later. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, that was a week. That was a week later, wasn't it?
When he leaves for when they leave to get shawarma,
A week later.
It's a week later. So I'm just like, so we just not gonna talk about it? Okay, cool. And then just overall the CGI. The CGI, y'all. The CGI was rough. It was rough. Especially like, because I'm not gonna lie. Look back in our first video, I was like, you know what? The CGI is all right. It's a TV show. I get it. The budget's lower. I'm not tripping. But the last 2 episodes, I was like, this ain't it. This ain't it. I wish it was better. I wish it looked better. I hope it looks better in the Marvels movie. We'll see. They need to fine tune that thing.
I mean, they are going to have to distinguish between at least 3 different types of powers, like how they look, because their powers are different. Potentially 4 if Komron comes back, right? Yeah. They're gonna have to figure out how to make all of their powers look different, and that means that
good.
It's not, some of it is not going to look good.
That makes me nervous. All right, y'all. So those were our highlights and nitpicks. What is next for Miss Marvel? Tell them, T.
So we are going to see Miss Marvel again in the next movie with the title The Marvels, coming in July 2023. That's going to include Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, who doesn't have a superhero name to my knowledge at the moment.
Don't mark me on this, y'all. Casual fangirl privilege invoked. I think she's called Photon. I feel like I've heard that.
But we didn't hear that. We didn't hear that anywhere. So we don't. Right. Excited for her to come back, definitely, to figure out what she's been up to, especially because of Skrull talked to her the last time we saw her. So that should be cool. I mean, we have questions like, was Carol in the other dimension? Is this confirmation that the Bengal is Kree? All that other stuff. And then above and beyond just Marvel, Miss Marvel and the Marvels itself, mutants have now officially been introduced into the MCU. So
it's official.
So where are we going with that is the question. How are they going to flesh this out? They can take it so many different ways, but as Nessa said at the earlier, Kamala is the only mutant that's been confirmed. But we know that there are technically other mutants. I mean, I think America Chavez is a mutant. I think that's just me. I mean, right now, I think it's just me that thinks that. That has not been confirmed.
It's not just you at all. It's not just you at all. I'm just saying that they haven't confirmed it. Because I deep down think the same thing too, but they just haven't confirmed it. But also it means if Kamala is a mutant, does that mean that mutants they're going to have to explain, well, they would have to done this anyway, but they're going to have to explain where have the mutants been. Where have they been? Where were they?
And that's the part I was getting at with that. I should have explained the whole, how are they going to introduce mutants? Is are the mutants already organized
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we know the X-Men to be organized, with there
Mm-hmm.
being Professor X or Magneto or whoever?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we at the super base level at this point where like mutants are just starting to pop up on people's radar?
Right.
That's the
Right.
question.
Have they been around this whole time, or is this something that's supposed to be new?
Right.
Basically, I think.
New-ish, or even you think they would tie the snap to like starting mutants?
They could, because it produced so much cosmic energy. It's definitely a possibility.
I would not be surprised if they did that.
It's definitely a possibility. But then,
Kamala.
ooh, well, okay. So, all right. I hate that I have so many thoughts going on because
Oh, do it.
when when WandaVision came out and we find out that from a child she did have some powers, people were trying to speculate from even back then, like, oh, is she a mutant or whatever? And they
Because she
kind
is in
of,
the comics.
yeah, she is in the comics. She
Right. She's
is
Magneto's
Magneto's
kid in the comics.
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people were trying to link that, but the way they kept playing it off in WandaVision was just like, she's a witch. It's witch
Right.
magic, which is supposed to
Right.
be different from mutant magic, or not mutant magic, but from the mutant gene.
Which just be a mutant.
You know?
Mutant Souls like is an all-encompassing explanation for powers in general. Like
I don't know.
everything, because essentially, I mean, the super soldier serum altered his DNA, didn't it?
I believe so.
Turned him into a mutant, is what I hear. So like, can all of the like more human superpowers
Yeah.
that are not enabled by technology, can all of that be explained by a mutant gene? I think the answer to that is yes. And I also think that the concentrated cosmic energy of the snap happening on Earth, whether it was two people who got snapped away or just two people who remained, I think that could be a cause for mutant genes.
It's possible. I'm curious and interested to see how they are going to develop this going forward. Is she gonna find more mutants, get them together? Is the DODC kind of gonna play this role in the future where they're hunting down mutants and all that stuff?
I think Bruno's going to take point on this. I think he's going to go to Caltech and he's going to do more research on it. And then something about that is going to like make it more like, oh, I have to go to Wakanda and figure out more about this. And so he goes to Wakanda and Shuri helps him realize that mutants are a thing. I'm writing it right now.
I see.
Shuri helps him find out that mutants are a thing. And then they try to like, I feel like Shuri would be like, we just leave him alone. But I don't know. Something would have to happen to get people to like start hunting mutants, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, and this could be the beginning of it, right? All of the footage of her coming out, whatever. But then, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
But in any event, when it comes to mutants in the MCU,
yeah,
Kamala is the only one confirmed. A lot of people think America is the other one that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously saw Professor X, even though it was in a different universe. We know that he exists somewhere within the MCU, and he is a mutant, a dead mutant at this point. Spoiler alert, but still a mutant nonetheless. And we know that the Deadpool movie is coming.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him in the MCU. We know the movie is coming. We know it's going to be in the MCU, and we know it's going to be a trilogy of the first two Deadpool movies. So he's a mutant. Like that's just forthcoming. So that kind of rounds out our experience thus far with mutants in the MCU, and I'm excited that Miss Marvel has been the one to kick it off.
Yeah. Are you more excited to get back with the Marvels, or are you more excited to see where the X-Men are going, or where they're going with this whole mutant thing?
A TV show to me.
Say it again.
The Marvels could be a TV show to me. Because that's how much I care about those characters. It's really just how I don't think Captain Marvel. I mean, this is gonna sound like I'm hating on women a little bit, and I'm not. But I don't think the first Captain Marvel movie warrants people coming out in the masses for a second Captain Marvel movie.
Which is why I think they had to pad it with other people who we actually do like.
Yes, but they didn't develop. There's no development of Monica so far.
Yeah.
And even Miss Marvel, which was cute, a cute show, but I think everyone would agree that they didn't stick the landing enough to make me want to revisit her. Like, they give me a Miss Marvel season 2, I'm gonna watch it, but there's nothing about her storyline right now where I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for a season 2 like I did with Loki, right? There's nothing like world. I don't know. It's just I'm not feeling urgent
to return
to these character arcs. And so I say all that to say that the Marvels movie could be a 10-season TV show for me, and I feel like it would land better. And I haven't even seen it yet. I'm just like calling it down.
That's how you feel. Yeah, you're like, yeah. Before y'all even move forward, let's make it a show.
Just chop it up, make it a show.
Fair. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I'm definitely more interested to see how they're going to explain the mutants and where they're going to go with that and everything versus where we're going with the Marvels. Although I want to know what Monica's up to. I want to know what she's up to with Fury in space. What have they been doing? That is the part that interests me the most. And that's why I was saying, like, when Carol comes stumbling out of the closet in the Stinger, I'm just like, oh, I called it, but oh, okay, this was disappointing.
More questions. Yeah.
It did nothing for me because like she didn't even say or do anything. So
right.
I was just like, okay, she's here.
Right.
Sure.
I'm also interested to see how Monica and Fury interact.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically she met him way back when she was a kid, right?
Right.
And now she's an adult. So, you know.
I just want to see what they're getting up to. I want to know what's up. Fury been gone for too long. Maybe this is why Phase 4 ain't really doing it for us. Fury needs to come back. We need Samuel L. to right the ship. That's what we need.
We need him to be the connecting through line because I had a thought, a team of superheroes to like fight the battles that we can't. It makes sense. Okay, this is why all these things are happening. Great. Thanos is a threat. Let's get everybody together to fight him. We don't have that yet. And I'm going to say on every single episode until we have it.
It was simpler times.
Simpler times. Before we wrap up, one final question. Where does Miss Marvel land in your list of Phase 4 shows? So, and I'm throwing this at you last minute because I just thought about it. Yeah. So we had WandaVision, Loki,
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon, not in that order.
No, we're not doing this in order.
What if Hawkeye? Now Miss Marvel. Oh, we had Moon Knight, which I am in the middle of watching. I haven't finished watching yet. What else? That's it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, those are all of them. We should also mention we're 7 shows in, y'all. Phase 4. But out of those, Loki and WandaVision are definitely top 2. And then I would probably say Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Winter Soldier, What If, and I haven't even watched Moon Knight. So I can't place Moon Knight. But
so we take Moon Knight out. My top ones are Loki and What If, probably, followed closely by Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Then WandaVision. Then Hawkeye, then Miss Marvel. Then Miss Marvel, then Hawkeye. Yeah, Miss Marvel, then Hawkeye.
Gotcha.
I don't think Hawkeye was bad. I care more about Miss Marvel than I did about Kate or Clint. So
fair enough. I think yeah, fair enough. We'll save we'll save our rankings debate for a different
let's do that
for sure. But I mean, it's all in all, I'm happy to have another show of representation. I will say that, because not only is it of
I learned a lot
Pakistani representation, but there's also a lot of Muslim representation, and I think that's a beautiful thing. We want to see more representation in the MCU. We got it with Shang-Chi, we got it with Black Panther, now we're getting it with Miss Marvel. It's always great to see people of color on the screens. We've gotten enough white superheroes, to be honest. There's a million movies and shows about white superheroes. So I'm very happy that we got this. But I also do want to say that let's keep the quality, y'all. Because I think that's important. And these are kind of like debates and things that I've heard as well, where it's like, we're so afraid, like even when Black Panther was coming out, right? We're so afraid to be like, it was all right, like nobody wanted to be overcritical of it, because we're like, damn, if we are, then are we gonna get another one?
Yep.
Is this character gonna return? And you and I were talking about how the season felt rushed, and I was like, I also get it, because when these creators are approached by Marvel and they're like, yeah, we're gonna give you a show, you don't know if you're gonna get a second season. You don't know how people are going to react. So it makes sense that you would want to try to cram everything all into that one season, all into 6 to 8 episodes. But then when we do that, we end up losing out a little bit.
Losing
I feel
some
like,
of the quality.
Yeah, we lose some of the quality. And so although I want to see more of these stories, I want to see more of these faces, I just want to make sure that the quality is where it needs to be at. And that goes for everything across the board. It's not just Miss Marvel, it's for everything across the board that they're going to put out.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would just add that, this is a simple, it's a balancing act between getting the character where the MCU needs the character to end up, while also making sure you're doing justice by the character and the stories that influences the character's arc, right?
Right.
So could they have, the question, I guess for this is could they have lost some of the historical and cultural scenes or exposition to give us more exposition leaning towards what we need to know for world building in the MCU? The answer is that's the trade-off that us as an audience would have had to deal with if we wanted a more a story that stuck the landing a little bit more. But at the same time, I think everything they showed was necessary in order for us understanding the character's arc. I just think that yeah, when they're running into the season 8 of Game of Thrones issue, which is you got to get them to a certain place by the end. And this is where they're at currently. And this is where the audience is currently with their understanding of the character and everything. How do you get them there without balancing those two things? And obviously the 8th season of Game of Thrones didn't do that balance right at all. And I think we're seeing another less egregious, this is not as bad as the Game of Thrones finale season was, but this is just another instance of that. How do you balance those two things?
Basically. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We did the thing.
Yeah, we did it. Excited to see where all this goes. Quick question, Nessa, are you watching She-Hulk?
I am. I'm tapped in. I want to see She-Hulk. I'm interested. I mean, I'm most of these properties that come out, I'm interested in. Now, am I ecstatic about it? No, but I'm curious. I'm interested. I always want to see what they're gonna do and what's gonna happen. Are you tuning in?
I will watch the first episode. I will make no promises after that. Is where I'm at. Although, I didn't think I was gonna like Moon Knight, and I'm in the middle of the 3rd episode, and I'm really into it. I find it really interesting. So we'll see. We'll see. So with that being said, thanks for joining us. Make sure you follow us on our socials at Casual Fangirls _, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Stay tuned. We don't have a lot of content to review coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think the next big show would be She-Hulk, followed immediately by House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon, and then followed immediately after that by what's the new
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power. So stay tuned. We're gonna try to do an episode or 2 where we talk a little bit about just Game of Thrones leading up to the House of Dragons, and then a little bit about Lord of the Rings leading up to the Ring of Power. And then we'll touch on She-Hulk and anything else that's coming out too. So stay tuned for all of that content coming up. And I think we're also going to do an episode where we're just talking about all the other things that we may have missed in individual episodes. So Secrets of Dumbledore, Maybe we'll get around to watching Morbius at some point. There's some other shows that we're watching. So stay tuned for all of that as well.
Yeah.
Anything else before we head out?
That is it. That is it.
Sounds good. So I'm T.
And I'm Nessa.
And we are the Casual Fangirls. We'll see you next time.
Bye.